When we think of the loan system, we tend to think of teams sending either young or out-of-favour players on loan to smaller or so-called lesser clubs, often in a lower league, so that they can continue to play first-team football and develop. A typical example would be someone like young Manchester United midfielder James Garner, who has divided his time between loan moves with Watford and Nottingham Forest in the Championship this season. However, whether it be Julian Faubert's loan deal from West Ham United to Real Madrid, or Stephen Corker's temporary stint on loan at Liverpool from Queen's Park Rangers, it is clear that not all loan moves were created equally. Subscriber Mabs suggested to me on Twitter that I take a look at some current examples of players who are on loan at clubs who are better than their parent clubs. So that is exactly what I'm going to do. To make things more interesting, I'm not going to include any loan deals which have either an option or an obligation to make the deal a permanent one written into them. That means no Chiesa or McKennie to Juventus, no Kabak to Liverpool, and no Tonali to AC Milan. That's because loans with a view to a permanent that are structured in that way aren't all that rare. So I thought I'd make life harder for myself, but hopefully this video more interesting for all of you by just leaving them out. Without further ado then, since he doesn't have a parent club, let alone a temporary one, here are 7 players currently on loan at clubs who are better than their parent teams. Moise Kean. The example that subscriber Mabs gave me on Twitter when suggesting this video idea, Moise Kean seems to me to be an excellent place in which to start this 7. Evidently an enormous talent since a very young age, Kean was banging goals against players 2 or 3 years older than him throughout his time in Juve's various youth teams. At the age of 16 and 8 months old, Kean became Juve's youngest ever debutant, and he later became the club's youngest ever Serie A goalscorer as well. In fact, the season before Juventus sold the Italian international, Kean had scored a mightily impressive 6 goals in 13 Serie A outings, leaving many surprised at their decision to let him go. It's thought Mino Raiola may have been pushing the deal and that Juventus needed to balance the books. Kean joined Everton for €27.5 million up front, with €2.5 million in potential future add-ons. Following a slow start and the odd disciplinary issue, Kean only bagged 2 goals in 33 games in his debut campaign at Goodison Park. The rise of Dominic Calvert-Lewin left the Italian out in the cold on Merseyside, but he still had plenty of admirers elsewhere. In October, PSG took Kean on a season-long loan with no clauses written into the deal with regards to it becoming a permanent one in the future. The 21-year-old has since done a stellar job in the French capital, averaging a goal every 137 minutes, putting him second only to Kylian Mbappe in the Parisian scoring charts. Despite no written clauses, PSG are apparently keen to sign Kean permanently, but so too are Juventus, who still have a first option clause in Kean's contract since selling him. Reports suggest that Everton are demanding somewhere in the region of 45 to 50 million euros. Salomon Rondon. A familiar face to viewers in Russia, Spain, England, Venezuela, and those of you watching in China via a VPN, Salomon Rondon is a very dependable centre forward. Though he has never hit 20 league goals in a season, or even come close, Rondon provides a real focal point for an attack. He holds the ball up well, he battles hard, and he is capable of hitting double figures even at the highest level. Formerly of Malaga and Rubin Kazan, Rondon hit double figures in 3 out of his 4 seasons in English football, in all competitions, at West Bromwich Albion and Newcastle United. Newcastle fans were very keen to see Rondon join the club on a permanent basis following his loan move, but as Rafa Benitez's departure was confirmed, the writing was on the wall. Rondon actually ended up following Benitez to his new job at Dalian Yifang, or Dalian Professional as they are now named, in the Chinese Super League. The Venezuelan number 9 has bagged 14 goals in 28 games in China's crisis-ridden top flight, but Rafa departed at the start of 2021, and so too did Rondon once again. Unlike Benitez, the 31-year-old has only left Dalian on loan, joining CSK in Moscow. The Russian outfit, who you may or may not know are actually managed by Croatian legend Ivica Olic these days, are 6th in the Russian Premier League at the time of recording, but one suspects they would thrash Dalian Professional if the two sides ever met. It's not yet clear where Rondon will be next season, but following an excellent start to life back in Russia, you'd imagine that CSKA would love to make that deal a permanent one. Sebastian Rudy. Already relegated German giant Schalke have had a season to forget, and the club is in the midst of a deep dark malaise and a festering swamp of a long-term decline. If that evocative language has piqued your interest, I have made a short documentary all about their plight, in addition to uncovering the downfall of the Chinese Super League that you also might enjoy, given that it is relevant to the previous inclusion in this 7. Anyhow, back to Schalke, and the Bundesliga basement boys currently have 7 players out on loan. Now, you could make the case for all of them being on loan at clubs who are better than Schalke at this moment in time, such as the Royal Blues plight, but of those on loan at teams very evidently better than Schalke, without clauses pertaining to any potential permanent transfers in those deals, Sebastian Rudy is our man. Capped 29 times by Germany, Rudy is a man who is best associated with Hoffenheim. The former Stuttgart trainee spent 7 years with the village club before joining Bayern Munich in 2017. Following a single season in Bavaria, in which Rudy made 35 appearances and won 3 trophies, he was signed by Schalke for more than £14 million. However, as Schalke's financial situation worsened in 2019, the club looked to offload some of their highest earners. With a reported weekly wage in excess of £80,000, Rudy became one of the club's top priorities, and he joined his former club Hoffenheim on a season-long loan. Over the summer, Schalke were in desperate need to send Rudy out on loan once again, allowing Hoffenheim to take him on loan for another season, this time whilst only paying 70% of his wages. Rudy's contract at Schalke is set to run until 2022, but the club will be faced with another dilemma of how to get him off their wage bill once their miserable current campaign is finally concluded. Fiorentina Louise. A tremendously highly rated young holding midfielder, Fiorentina Louise has been part of Portugal's international setup since the age of only 14. Signed by Benfica as a 10-year-old, Louise has made over 70 appearances for the Portuguese Giants reserve team, in addition to playing just shy of 30 games in their first team. Previously linked with the likes of Manchester City, Paris Saint-Germain and AC Milan, Benfica made Louise available to loan in the summer for a fee of £2.5 million plus the entirety of his wages. There was talk of Fulham taking the youngster on loan at one time, but they seemingly opted for the more experienced Mario Lemina instead. One club who has no hesitation in signing youngsters is Ligue 1 title hopefuls Monaco, and they were happy to stump up the necessary cash to bring Louise to the Côte d'Azur. Benfica made it very clear that there was no option to make the deal a permanent one, though it seems unlikely that Monaco would have activated such a clause anyway had there been one. I say that because Louise has only made 10 appearances for Monaco this season and just 2 starts in all competitions. It has been a bitterly disappointing campaign for the 21-year-old in truth, and no doubt for Benfica as well, who will have been hoping for him to get some much-needed first-team football. Whether or not Monaco are a better team than Benfica right now is perhaps the most controversial club comparison in this 7. But with Monaco just 2 points off the top of the Ligue 1 table at the time of recording, and just 1 point behind PSG, meanwhile Benfica are a whopping 13 points off top spot in the Portuguese Primeira Liga, and just having watched both teams play this season, I don't have too many hesitations about including Louise. Douglas Costa. A man who is on loan from one super club to another, only one of those genuine super clubs signed up to the so-called Super League, and it wasn't the one that is much stronger right now. Douglas Costa's career for the last 6 years has just been bouncing between Juventus and Bayern Munich. He joined Bayern in 2015 from Shakhtar Donetsk. He went on loan to Juventus in 2017 with the option to make that move a permanent one for €40 million. Juventus exercised that option in the summer of 2018, signing Costa permanently from Bayern. But last summer, in 2020, Costa returned to Bavaria on loan from Juventus. It has been a fairly underwhelming return in truth. In Costa's defence, he faces stiff competition on the flanks from the likes of Serge Gnabry, Leroy Sané and Kingsley Coman. The Brazilian has subsequently been limited to just 20 appearances this season, just 11 in the league, and only 6 starts in all competitions. What's more, when he has played, Costa has been really disappointing. Consequently, there appears to be little to no chance that Bayern Munich will sign Costa for a second time this summer on a permanent basis. However, Andrea Pirlo also reportedly does not consider Costa to be part of his plans going forward in Turin. The 30-year-old still has another year left on his contract to Juventus, and there is said to be interest in him from Ligue MX side Tigres, his boyhood club Gremio, and an unnamed MLS team. The stumbling block is Costa's salary, said to be just shy of £200,000 a week, which means the only way he leaves Juventus this summer is by taking an enormous pay cut, or for his former employers to subsidise his next contract for the next 12 months at least. Lucas Torreira. There are lots of things that I get wrong on this channel, and even the occasional thing that I get right. One such example of me being wrong, thus far at least, is in regards to Lucas Torreira. The Uruguayan had impressed me for both Sampdoria and on international duty, and I thought that he could be just the solution to some of Arsenal's struggles in terms of their midfield fragility and the lack of protection in terms of their back four. I think his first season at the Emirates was perfectly adequate, if not outstanding, as the then 23-year-old adjusted to life in the Premier League, but he failed to kick on last season. Over the summer, when Arsenal signed Thomas Partey for €50 million, Torreira headed out on loan in the opposite direction. Again, I must admit, I thought that was a pretty smart piece of business. Torreira's graft and tenacity in midfield is not just reminiscent of Diego Simeone as a player, but made him exactly the type of player who tends to flourish under his management. Or so I thought. Simeone switched to a 3-4-2-1 following Partey's departure though, playing without a real midfield sitter. What's more, when he does, it tends to be Jeffrey Kondogbia who starts ahead of Torreira. The 25-year-old has only started 3 games all season, once on his debut, and the other 2 times against semi-professional opposition in the Copa del Rey. Torreira now appears to have done a Riquelme, so to speak, telling his agent that he no longer wants to play in Europe and that he is determined to sign for Boca Juniors. Boca appear to be keen to make that deal happen, and Torreira even seems willing to take a slight pay cut to return to South America. The stumbling block in Torreira's case then is the fee. Arsenal paid £26 million to sign him in 2018, and there is no way on earth that Boca could afford to spend anything like that. So, what will happen next remains to be seen. Scott Carson. Oh come on, this is an absolute peach of a top spot, let's not pretend otherwise. There has become a bit of a habit of unglamorous goalkeepers joining rather more glamorous football clubs as third choice keepers in recent years, whether it be Lee Grant at Manchester United or Rob Green at Chelsea. Scott Carson is among the latest in that long line, now in his second season on loan at the Etihad from Championship side Derby County. In 2 seasons on loan with the Citizens, Carson has played as many games for the club as me, Dame Shelley Bassey, and Genghis Khan combined. That's right, absolutely none. As with Lee Grant's move to Old Trafford, I actually think that is a bit of a waste, since Carson is, or was at least, a decent keeper, certainly at Championship level. In January 2018, Carson said he felt his current form was twice as good as it had been when he was actually playing for England, and manager Gary Rowett said he didn't think there was an English goalkeeper in the country in better form than Carson. Now he doesn't really have any form to speak of since he hasn't played a game in so long. Age 35, Carson is out of contract this summer, though there are reports that Derby County are keen to extend his contract, in which case I suppose he would compete with David Marshall for a starting berth at Pride Park next season. Either way, with his parent club Derby County embroiled in a Championship relegation scrap, meanwhile his on-loan club Manchester City cruised to the Premier League title, Carson seems like a fitting player to conclude this 7. So that is it for today's video, but honourable mentions go to fellow goalkeepers Matt Ryan and Marcus Schubert. There are countless other examples from Alessandro Florenzi to Moussa Dembele, Gael Kakuta and Matteo Darmian had I been including loans that do have clauses written into them, either obligating or allowing them to become permanent at some stage. But you know, I didn't. Thank you all as ever for watching, give us a like if you enjoyed the video, it means a lot, let me know your thoughts down below in the comments, and make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications for HITC Sevens if you don't already. You can also find me on Instagram or Twitter, or both, by the username at HITC Sevens on both, should you wish to do so.